Hello and welcome to EV Car Share. So today I want to look at an app. So that will be coming up on the screen in a moment. What I'm looking at really is, I've looked previously at route planning and navigation in the car. I've looked at a better route planner and how it can be used to decide on which car you might want to choose based on the availability of lots of different cars and so on. I've charged in the past with Ionity and I've talked about their memberships. Now, Ionity have recently updated their app and I've just noticed and gone into that and seen there's a route planner involved and there's a variety of improvements to the app that I think are worth kind of noting. So this is about the Ionity app, the new version, the improvements, the route planner, how that fits in with having a membership and so on. I mean, if you've decided that a membership to one of the Ionity levels is going to suit you, then you really want to be planning your trips to factor in stopping at Ionity rather than other charge points. You're not going to pay for £10 a month for the Ionity pass that gets you 43 pence per kilowatt hour and then stop at GridServe at 79 or Shell at 80, 90, whatever they charge these days. You're just not going to. You're going to want to use the Ionity charge points to get the most out of your app. Out of your membership, and that's where the app comes in. So let me just quickly set record on my phone so that we can see the app. Okay, so that's recording. So you can see I'm in Peterborough. I'm actually on my way to have the car, well, to drop the car in for service. Just coming up, I'm just short of 60,000 miles, so I'm dropping in for a 60,000 mile service today. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm sure they'll just give it a bit of grease in the door hinges and stick a few boxes on a sheet and hand me it back. That's kind of what electric cars need, really, nothing more. But we'll see. Hopefully it'll all be good and I will give you an update later. Maybe if they take tyre tread values, that would be quite useful because I can then report back. It's been 15,000 miles since I changed my tyres, so that'd be quite useful to report back on how the tyre wear is doing in a video maybe later in the week. Back to the app, so you can see I'm in Peterborough. If I zoom out, then we get various charge points or charge locations appearing on map. Now in the past, like a lot of the other apps, Ionity at this point would just have a little Ionity icon to show you this is a point where there is a charge station. Now they have what InstaVolt have done for years, which is have the number of available charge points marked on the map. So as you zoom out and move around, you can see the Peterborough services near to where I am. There are 3 charge points available. Down at Cambridge there are also 3. Clearly those new charge points aren't online yet. Down at Baldock there are 6. That's all 6. That's quite impressive. Milton Keynes there are 2. Must be a quiet morning this morning on the way to work. People aren't wanting to charge, but there you go. So if you take somewhere like Peterborough, so zoom back in, tap on the Peterborough one, you tap on the icon and it brings up the information about that charge location. So how far you are away from it, how long it takes you to get there, what type of chargers they are they CCS, are there any chair demo? Mostly around the UK it's going to be CCS and it's all going to be 350s with Ionity. That's really all they've rolled out. I think there might be a couple of exceptions, but I mean you're looking at 350s at CCS in general. On the continent it's less so. You can pick up the odd 50s and some CHAdeMO, I think, over there, because Ionity began over on the continent and then spread into the UK. So the technology followed them as they've spread across. Anyway, so if we move further up, we can see which ones are available, which ones are not available, and we can show all chargers as well. There's a little tap and you can show all chargers. It then includes any that are in use. So this is unusual. There's a couple that are not available. I know there's some building works going on there, so it may be that they've taken 2 out offline in order to do the building works. I think they're expanding Peterborough as well. So I imagine that's what's happened there. There's 2 that have been taken offline for that building works. There are 3 that are available and there's 1 in use. What you'll notice with the 1 in use is it's pulling back a percentage. This is new. So you now know, so we can see here that the car connected to that charge point is currently at 99%. Now I would never, well, I have done on occasions, but I wouldn't usually allow my car to charge up to 99% on a public charge point. It's just takes time. You may as well get going on your journey. Maybe somebody's been having breakfast and they've just allowed it to sit there charging away, but you would expect them to be back pretty soon. They've pretty much finished charging. They can't go any further than 100%. So if you were approaching and there were no charge points available, but there were some at 99 or even 100%, then you might confidently go there even though on approach there are no charge points available, because you know that there's going to be somebody leaving pretty soon. On the other side, had they all been at 10, 15, 20% and there's none available, you might think, okay, I'm going to the next set further up the motorway or further along my route, because there's just not going to be anything available for a good 20 minutes or so at least. So then you would avoid that location. So that's quite useful information. Now, it doesn't always pull through. So if I go to one of the other locations, let's go to Cambridge and add the show all chargers. Yeah, you can see there, none of those are pulling through on this occasion. They're all just saying in use. And if I scroll that further, let's go to the Milton Keynes one, show all the chargers. Again, that's just showing that they're in use. That's not a very good example. There's 0 available there near London at Beaconsfield. So let's see that one. There we go. So this is the example I was wanting to really pull up, is that you get sometimes some of them are showing and some of them not showing. Now, I don't know why that is. Ionity will probably be able to tell us more. Maybe I'll ask the question. But it may be a combination of network conditions at that particular location. So maybe the Cambridge one that was reporting none of them, there's not the network conditions required to allow that transmit of information. Or maybe it's a combination between the charge point talking to the car and the car providing that information and so on. Maybe it's not being provided properly. Maybe there's certain cars where it won't show, certain cars where it will show. Maybe it's to do whether somebody started the charge point using the app or whether they've charged using contactless card. I don't know, but certainly it's a useful feature to have in the app to be able to see whether or not charge points are going to be available or not. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. Another thing I wanted to point out was the routing. So before I go there, actually, I'll go to the profile at the bottom here, and that allows you to go to subscriptions, and this shows you your pricing. So you can see my pricing, because I'm just logged into the app, is 71 pence per kilowatt hour. You don't pay anything, no membership for that. That's just the basic, they call it Ionity Go, that's what's active on my account. I can then add to that by paying. I can either pay £10.50 a month, which takes it down to 43 pence per kilowatt hour, or I can pay £5.49 per month, which takes it down to 53 per kilowatt hour. So you can, and it gives you some summary as to why you might want to do either one, which would be best for the type of driving you do, which is useful. And you can do the calculations if you want to work out for you whether it would be best to pay more or less, or pay nothing at all, of course. What I would do myself is, if I have a particular long trip, or where I've got multiple charges planned, or if I'm going on holiday, or if I'm planning on doing a lot of driving that particular month, then I might take a package for that month. It's probably going to be the power one. It's probably going to be worth spending that little extra to get the lower cost, because it's probably, for me, going to be the situation where I'm doing a lot of driving and then in a short time in that month, and then it's just going to benefit me having that lower price, even though it's a higher membership charge. So those are the prices you can get. So let's imagine you have the Ionity Power, it's giving you 43 pence per kilowatt hour. That pretty much beats everything else out there. So you're going to want to charge on Ionity. I say everything else out there. Tesla, well, it depends. So the Tesla memberships you can get for a little bit less. I think it's £8.99 in the UK. But then how much you pay varies from site to site and time of day. Sometimes the 43 beats the membership price on Tesla if it's the wrong time of day and the wrong location. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the Tesla ones can be below 40p. So you kind of really then have to look into it a bit more if that's what you want. For this car, I wouldn't go down the Tesla route, because if I'm doing charging on the road a lot during a particular month, hence I'm getting this membership, then I don't want the hassle of the non-compatibility with 800 volts that the Tesla systems have, that mean that then I can't get the full speed of charging on this car. And also the issue with the version 3s that have the short cables, and then I'm trying to have to work out which one's a version 4s and which one's a version 3s, and it just too much hassle. If there's not much difference between the price, then I'm going to go Ionity over Tesla. That's my choice, you make yours. So that is the package. Let's say you've chosen that package. You want to use that package wherever you can, maximize your use of the package, of course. So you can go to this icon in the top right, little map icon with the pinpoints, tap on that and it will open up the new route planner. Now, this is quite useful. You can, first of all, at the very top there is a button to add your car. You don't have to add it by number plate or VIN number or anything like that. You just select it from a list of cars. Just find the one you want, select it, same as a better route planner. So you're not giving them any of your information about your car, you're not connecting to your car, there's no worries about their app polling your car via the internet or nothing like that. So you just select your car. I've selected the Kia EV6 long range rear wheel drive GT Line 2022 model, which is what I've got. You can then select your starting position. So I'm going to choose Peterborough because that's where I am. You can then choose your destination. Now we're going down to Cornwall later in the year for a holiday, family holiday. So I've got Penzance in here. You can see I've been using this already. They're already in there in the history. We're not going as far as Penzance, but it's one of those classic places where you can quickly think of it. It's down at the very bottom. It gives you a long journey to test with. Battery on departure. So let's say we start with 90%. Battery on arrival, we wouldn't want to arrive down at the end of Cornwall with no battery left. So let's say we want 50. And then here you can tell it whether you want it to plot your route either preferring the Ionity network or only on the Ionity network, and also whether you want to include it allows you to include your subscription for the purposes of calculating the pricing. So I'm going to say only the Ionity network, because if I've bought the pass then I want to go on Ionity. If I haven't bought the pass then I'm probably not going to use the Ionity app as my route planner. I like the way it's got preferred and only as two options. If you wanted the third option, which is avoid Ionity, then you're not going to be using the Ionity app, are you? There's no real point in having avoid in the Ionity app. That's the things that ZapMap and Better Route Planner and all those kind of independent apps are going to have. You wouldn't expect that to be in Ionity. So I'm going to say only, and I'm going to say I have the power passport. And then you've got weather conditions. Do you want to have current weather conditions, so what it is around today? Do you want an estimation based on winter conditions or on summer conditions? Now I've looked at summer conditions. They were 25 degrees is what it gives you as summer conditions. So this time I'm going to look at winter conditions and I'm going to see what it says. Maybe I won't. I'll go for summer conditions because that's what I'm going to be doing. Remember, this is imagining my summer holiday later in a couple of months' time. So yeah, we'll stick with summer conditions. So we will plan the route. So it takes a little moment, but it's pretty quick. Obviously it's going to be faster for shorter routes and take longer for longer routes. So if you're planning a trip from Oslo to Istanbul, then it's going to take a lot longer. Or maybe, I don't know, Sevilla to Moscow or something like that. It's going to take a lot longer. For me, Peterborough down to Penzance, it's several hundred miles. It's a good long trip, but it's not going to take a long time to plot that route. So then it gives you a summary. So it tells me that I'm going to arrive at 3:15 in the afternoon. After 2 stops, it's going to take 6 hours and 29 minutes. The amount of stopped charging time is 36 minutes. And if I scroll up further, you can see it's telling me that I'm going to be 16 minutes in Bristol and 19 minutes in Bodmin. It's told me the subscription price is unavailable, using ad hoc price instead. So maybe that's because I don't have a subscription, even though it's asked me to select that I do. Don't know quite on that one. Didn't happen when I tested this the other day anyway. So it gives you a summary as well on charging costs, gives you a summary on estimated consumption, and then tells you how much CO2 has been avoided, if you're interested in that. Gives you a breakdown, so 2 hours 41 minutes to the first charge stop, 2 hours 18 minutes to the next charge stop, and then an hour to get to the end of the route. Gives you a couple of graphs at the bottom here, one for elevation, one for consumption. You can see across your route how the elevation changes, how the consumption changes. It's fairly consistent. If you were including over the Alps or something like that, then you may, or the Pyrenees, then you may see something a bit less consistent. This is obviously the UK. We've got some hills, particularly in Cornwall. You can see as we change the elevation to Cornwall, there are some decent hills, but the UK is relatively flat. So you can see all of that. You can, at the top, you can share, and you can save a report. Share allows you to share this information if you were wanting to put it onto Facebook, or if you were wanting to send it as a message, direct message to a friend. You can share your route details and stuff with them. And the report is obviously for your own purposes. The Open Maps allows you to put that information into Apple Maps or Google Maps for navigation. So if you're using CarPlay or Android Auto or something like that, it may even work with Waze. I haven't tried it, but that will allow that to go into that route, that nav system for you, so that it can then do the guidance in car based on this route planner's plan, which is also quite good. So I can see the benefit of this. Right now, as I'm talking, this subscription pricing isn't seeming to work, which is strange. I'll probably refresh it and see what happens. But it does mean that you could try the different Ionity packages, and you can see what the price difference is and see whether or not the price difference is great enough to pay for the package. So if you're trying to work out which package to use, this would be quite useful. You don't have to worry then about spreadsheets and working all out calculations yourself. You can just do it straight on here, which is good. So let's try that again. Let's say subscription, power passport, plan routes. Nope, it still hasn't brought up. It's still saying Ionity subscription price unavailable, using ad hoc price instead. So this is the price you would get if you just turned up and used your contactless card. So estimating 16, and at the moment as well, this is showing in euros and kilometers, which is a real pain. I don't know if they're updating this, maybe that's why the pricing hasn't come through, but I haven't been able to find any way to change it from European to British. So I haven't found any way to change to British pounds or to miles, which is a pain. I'm going to have a word with them, find out how to do that, or whether you can do that, or report that it needs to be done. I'm sure somebody else has probably reported it already, but I will join in on that and jump on the bandwagon. So that is the Ionity app as it now stands. In my opinion, really good. You can also quite nicely zoom out, see the whole of Britain, move into Europe, etc. As you zoom out, all of those charge points amalgamate, and it's not showing you then how many chargers are available, it's showing you how many charge locations are in that area. So you can scroll around Europe, and you can see where all the high density of charge points is, and 99 plus in that area of France. If you scroll up to Scotland, you can see there's some around Edinburgh, Glasgow, up to Perth and Dundee and Aberdeen, but there's nothing then in the north of Scotland, nothing in the Highlands and Islands. You'll have to use the national provider, which is Charge Place Scotland, if you're going up into that area, which again I will be doing this year, so another thing that's interesting to me. So that is the app. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been useful. I think that's a real good change. I think there's some real good stuff in there, and I'm going to be using that app myself this year. I will probably, what I'll do is for at least one or more of my drives, I will use the app. I will see what it suggests I'm going to end up using in terms of kilowatt hours and in terms of cost, and see what it suggests will happen in terms of timing, how long I'm going to wait for the charge and so on. And then I'll do the drive and I will compare the reality to the app's prediction and see what we get. And that'll be quite useful. Might make a video of that one. So stay tuned for those. If you like what I'm doing in general, hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, obviously give it a thumbs up. If you want to add your own comments or discuss something, then add it obviously in the comments down below. Keep the chat going, and yeah, see you next time.